those quiet first moments of life, as a newborn blinks into the light for the first time, the brain begins its lifelong ballet of input and interpretation. It doesn't wait for us to speak or walk. From the very first breath, it's already working, recording patterns, capturing tone, texture, sound, light. A baby is born with 100 billion neurons, nearly as many stars as there are in the Milky Way. These neurons are unassigned, like a blank musical score. The environment becomes the composer, a gentle voice, a sudden noise, the rhythm of a parent's heartbeat. Every sensation builds the framework of thought. That's why early childhood is so crucial. Children raised in loving, stimulating homes tend to develop faster cognitively and emotionally. Yet the real marvel is that all of this potential is simply waiting. With proper nurturing, the brain can become a language powerhouse, a mathematical genius, a poetic soul. And that tells us something revolutionary. Genius isn't always born. It can be built. Phineas Gage's skull is still preserved today in a Harvard museum. The rod that went through his head sits beside it. They're silent witnesses to one of the most important neurological discoveries ever. After the accident, doctors didn't just marvel at his survival, they studied him for decades. What changed? Gage, they noted, could no longer hold a job. He became erratic, profane. He had lost his social filters, his empathy, his long-term planning. At the time, psychology was barely a science. But Gage forced people to see the brain differently. His case helped prove that specific brain regions handle specific functions. The frontal lobe, where the rod passed, was shown to control judgment and personality. In many ways, Gage's tragedy gave birth to modern neuroscience. And it raised haunting questions. How much of who we are is biology? Are we truly free in our choices, or bound by anatomy? For years, Derek Amato was an ordinary man. Working class, practical, without illusions of stardom. Music was something he liked, not something he lived. Until that day. The pool accident triggered not just piano skill, but visions, patterns of keys and notes appearing in his mind like visual music sheets. He described them as flowing across his vision, leading his hands without thought. He wasn't alone. Scientists have documented several cases of acquired savants, people who gain genius-like abilities in math, art, or music after injury. But how? Some theorize that the brain, in compensating for damaged areas, rewires itself in unexpected ways. It's like opening a sealed room in a vast mansion. You never knew it was there. What does this mean for the rest of us? Could we tap into unused parts of our brain safely? Could meditation, stimulation, or training awaken dormant talent? The answers may one day change how we educate, heal, and grow. We want to believe evil wears a face, that we can see it coming. But Ted Bundy shattered that illusion. Handsome, polite, articulate. He didn't look like a killer. But beneath the surface, his brain told another story. Neuroscientists now know that reduced activity in the orbitofrontal cortex and amygdala, areas tied to emotion and morality, is common among violent offenders. These areas help us feel guilt, pause before action, and sense others' pain. When they malfunction, the result can be chilling. But what happens when we spot these patterns in children? Do we treat them, monitor them, judge them? In one famous case, a child brain scanned as high risk later went on to lead a normal life, thanks to strong parental support, therapy, and mentorship. This shows that biology isn't fate. Environment matters. Intervention works. But we must ask, how far should we go in predicting crime? Remote viewing, once the stuff of science fiction, became a tool of Cold War espionage. Trained psychics claim to locate military installations, find kidnapped victims, and spy on enemies. Declassified CIA documents reveal dozens of such missions, with some success too specific to ignore. Angela Smith's case was no isolated incident. In another operation, a viewer described a downed Soviet aircraft in an African jungle when all satellite searches had failed. Skeptics argue that such stories cherry-pick the hits and ignore the misses. But even the military, with its focus on results, invested for nearly 2 decades. Does this mean the mind has untapped dimensions? Quantum theories of consciousness suggest that human awareness may be linked in ways we don't yet understand. Maybe what we call intuition is simply data processed in ways we can't yet measure. The idea of transferring consciousness, once confined to sci-fi, has now entered research labs. Projects like Neuralink and OpenWorm aim to understand and simulate the mind. Some researchers believe that mapping the brain's connectome down to the last synapse could allow us to simulate human consciousness. But even if we achieve this, profound questions remain. If you copied your mind to a machine, who wakes up? Is it still you? Or a clone with your memories, your voice, your face, but not your soul? And if we can live forever in a server, what happens to love, to family, to the meaning of death? Philosophers warn that such simulations may strip us of humanity in pursuit of permanence. Brain enhancement is no longer hypothetical. Implants that help blind people see or paralyzed patients move robotic limbs are already here. But what about elective upgrades? What if we could install perfect memory, infinite attention, or instant learning? Some futurists dream of a future where IQ is bought and sold, where children are genetically designed for brilliance. But what does that do to society? Will we create a mental caste system, those with upgrades and those without? There's beauty in human limitation, in forgetting, in struggling, in discovery. As we race to enhance ourselves, we must ask, what makes us human? And what might we lose if we perfect the brain too far? Stand in front of a mirror. Look into your own eyes. Behind them lies the most mysterious force in the known universe, your mind. It can imagine impossible worlds, feel another's pain, solve problems centuries in the making. And yet it doubts itself. As we dig deeper into the folds of the brain, we uncover not just neurons and signals, but something transcendent. The ability to love, to fear, to hope. And in that mirror, you see a person shaped not just by genetics or experience, but by every thought they've ever had. The journey into the mind is not just science. It is soul-searching. It is the story of what we were and what we might yet become.